Yo, what is up guys, welcome back to my channel. In today's video, I'll be giving you a full keyboard optimization guide. The optimizations in this video will be ranging from simple to quite advanced. So simple tweaks such as inside of Windows settings, all the way to some advanced tweaks where we will be modifying our Windows registry. So without further ado, let's get right into the video. So the first thing that we're gonna do is create a restore point and also a backup of our Windows registry. To create a restore point, simply click on Windows and search for restore point, and you'll see create a restore point under control panel. Inside of this window, you need to check if protection is turned on for your system drive. If it's not turned on, just click on configure, and here first click on turn on system protection, and then down here set the slider to any value between 1 and 3%. All this does is allocates a small amount of your disk space to store all your restore points. Once this is done, click on apply and OK. Now we can click on create. So here just set a name for your restore point. I would recommend that you just use the current date so that it's easier for you to locate the restore point. Once you set your name, click on create, and this should only take a few seconds. Once complete, you can close this window. Now to back up the Windows registry, simply press Windows plus R on your keyboard, and inside of run you need to type regedit and then click on OK. Click yes on this pop-up. Inside of here, click on file and then click on export. Now just select a location on your computer where you'd like to save the backup file. Set a file name. So again, I'll be using the current date, and then just simply press save. Again, this will take a few seconds, and now we have a backup of our registry. So now we can safely start optimizing for the lowest delay. So the first thing that you need to do is download the keyboard optimization pack, which I will provide for free in the description below. This contains all of the files that we need for all of the optimizations. So all the CMD commands and all the shortcuts for these settings. This pack is going to make the whole optimization process much easier. So to start, click on the keyboard software folder, and here you're going to see a bunch of shortcuts for different keyboard manufacturers. So you need to download the keyboard software for your corresponding keyboard. So if you have a Logitech keyboard, just double click on this, click on open, and this will take you to the official software download website, and then you can just download and install it from here. If your keyboard supports a software, then you should download it because it's going to help you modify a bunch of settings which are going to help you get the lowest possible delay. If your manufacturer is not in this list, you can simply just look it up and download whatever software is available. So inside of the software, the first setting that you need to modify is the polling rate of the keyboard. So the polling rate is essentially just how fast a keystroke on your keyboard is reported to your computer. So on paper, a higher polling rate means your keystrokes are sent faster to your PC, which in turn means that you'll get lower input delay. So let's say your keyboard is running at 125 Hz. This means that your input can take up to 8 milliseconds to register, which is painfully slow, especially for competitive games. At 1000 Hz, which is the default polling rate on most budget gaming keyboards, this delay comes down to just 1 millisecond. And at about 8000 Hz, which is available on many high-end gaming keyboards from Razer, Corsair, etc., the delay is just 0.125 milliseconds, which means that the keyboard is scanning for inputs about 8 times in a single millisecond. So it's basically like enabling turbo mode for your keyboard. But before you change this setting, there's a few things that you need to keep in mind. Firstly, higher polling rate means more work for your CPU. Since your CPU is going to have a lot more inputs to register and take care of, it could affect the performance of your game if your CPU is not strong enough. 1000 Hz is safe for most modern systems, but 8000 Hz gives you the absolute lowest latency, but only high-end CPUs can handle it smoothly. So what I would recommend is that you start by increasing your polling rate at smaller increments. So let's say if you have 2000 Hz or 4000 Hz options available, you should slowly increase the polling rate and then run a few tests on your computer by simply just playing your game using your usual setup. So if you have Discord running in the background while you play your game, you should have it open along with your new polling rate, and then if you face any frame drops or stutters, you can simply just revert back. Now the next setting that you need to modify is the actuation point. So the actuation point is the exact depth that you need to press a key before your PC registers the input. So on most mechanical keyboards, this is around 2 millimeters out of the total 4 millimeter travel. But on gaming keyboards with adjustable actuation, you can fine-tune it all the way down to 0.1 millimeter. This means that the key is going to get triggered at even the lightest touch. This is perfect for competitive games where reaction speed matters a lot. But also keep in mind that this can lead to accidental key presses if you're used to keeping your fingers on the keyboard. Last but not least, some keyboards also have a built-in turbo mode or an overdrive mode where the keyboard basically pushes past normal limits for the lowest possible delay, but this strongly depends on the brand and the model of the keyboard. I will include the links to some keyboards that support 8000Hz polling rate in the description of this video, and I'll also include the links of some good gaming keyboards in case you are looking for an upgrade. The wooden keyboards have a mode called the Actuation Mode, which basically disables all the unnecessary features like the RGB to help you achieve the lowest possible delay. Now we can start modifying other settings. The first setting that we're going to change is the keyboard repeat settings inside of Windows. To change that, you need to open up Control Panel. Inside of here, first set view by to large icons. Now click on the keyboard option, and inside of here, first set the character repeat delay to short. So you just need to drag the slider all the way towards the right, and then the repeat rate, we're going to set this to fast. These are the only settings that you need to change inside of here. Now click on apply and OK. Next, we're going to be modifying the accessibility settings inside of Windows. So we're just going to disable some unnecessary Windows keyboard shortcuts like sticky keys. To do this, you need to open the accessibility tweaks folder, then double click on the shortcut to open the keyboard settings. Inside of here, just disable these three settings and then you're good to go. Next, we're going to be setting the ultimate Windows performance plan. What this does is unlocks a hidden Windows power plan that removes all the power saving features. This ensures that your CPU and hardware are always running at maximum performance to prevent slowdowns that could cause input lag. To enable this, click on the power plan folder and first open the notepad file and simply copy this command that I have pasted inside of here. Now run command prompt as an administrator. And here just paste the command that we just copied and press enter. Now you'll see the name of the plan, so ultimate performance. And to apply this, just double click on the shortcut and here just select the ultimate performance plan. Once enabled, you can close this. For our next tweak, we're going to disable power management for each and every USB port on our computer. So stopping Windows from putting your USB devices into low power mode ensures that your keyboard is fully active at all times, avoiding small input delays caused by power saving. So inside of our folder, click on the disable port power saving and open device manager. Inside of here, click on the universal bus controllers dropdown. From this list, you need to click on each and every device and check the ones which have the power management tab and make sure to disable this option. To do this for each and every device, and some devices like this one may not have that setting, so you can just ignore these devices, but most devices with host controller or root hub or hub in their name are going to have the power management setting. So make sure to disable that on each and every device which has it available. Next, we're going to disable any unnecessary startup or background apps that you don't really need. Doing this is going to cut down on unnecessary programs running in the background, which is going to free up CPU resources so Windows can prioritize your input and game performance. This is really going to help reduce micro stutters. To do this, click on the disable startup app shortcut, and now inside of this list, just disable any unnecessary apps like the Microsoft 365 Copilot, Microsoft Edge, OneDrive, Teams, and any other third-party apps that you may not use. Just make sure not to disable any apps from your PC's manufacturer, like this one for me and this one, but apart from that, you can disable any of the unnecessary apps. Next, we're going to be using HID USB to modify the polling rate of our keyboard. So what this is going to do is lock in the polling rate that we just set on our keyboard at a driver level, which is going to make sure that the polling rate is not lowered at any point of time. To do this, you need to open up the HID USB folder inside of our optimization pack. Now double click on the setup.exe file. Click yes on the pop-up, and inside of here, first click on the devices drop-down and select keyboards. And here, if you have more than one devices, just unplug your keyboard and plug it back in. And now the device that just disappeared and came back is your keyboard. So first click on install service and press open. Now check the filter on device option, and from the drop down just select the polling rate that you just set inside of your keyboard software at the start of this video. So for me it's 1000 Hz, and once this is done you need to click on install service once again, and now our polling rate is going to stay locked. You can also simply unplug your keyboard and plug it back in, and as you can see our polling rate stays locked. For our next optimization, we're going to be using FilterKeys, which is a third-party application. So this app is going to help us control how Windows handles very short or rapid key presses, and optimizing this is going to ensure that even the fastest tabs are registered instantly without being filtered out. So inside of our pack, double click on this shortcut. Now on this website, you need to scroll down and select the first option. This is going to start the download, and it's going to download as a zip file. So once you extract the zip file, just double click on the exe, and now inside of here your settings will look something like this. So for the ignore under, just set this to 0 milliseconds. For the repeat delay, we're going to set this to 90. You can also test values like 125, 120 and 130. Simply test these values and use the one which feels the best for you. And for the repeat rate, you can set this at any value between 20 and 30 milliseconds. So I'm going to use 25, and here we need to set the flags as on, and make sure to disable activation sound and key click. Also enable save to registry so that these settings are permanent. If you don't enable this, it's going to be reset every time you restart your computer. Also, if you want to revert back to your default settings at any time, you can simply click on the default button, and that is going to revert the settings to the Windows default. Once this is done, you can press OK and your filter key settings will be applied. Next, we're going to optimize our keyboard data queue size. This defines how many keystrokes Windows can store in its input buffer before sending them to the applications, and having a lower data queue size value is going to make inputs process faster, while having a higher value is going to make the system more stable. So for this setting, what I would recommend is that you test it out, and if it seems to affect your performance, you can revert back to the default value. Inside of our pack, you need to open up the DataQueueSize folder, and first open up the readme text document, and inside of here you're going to get a bit of information about this optimization and also the optimal values that you should use according to your system. Here I've also provided the default value so that you can restore the default setting. Once you are done reading this through, you can open up the commands file, and from here just select the command which corresponds to the value that you want to set this to. I have a high-end system, so I'm going to select this command right here. So copy and open up CMD as an administrator, and now just paste this command and press enter. The execution should be successful. Next up, we have CSRSS Tweaks. So what this basically does is gives higher CPU and input-output priority to CSRSS.exe, which is a Windows system process that handles input. This means that the keystrokes will get scheduled faster and won't be delayed by background apps using the CPU. To apply this, open up the CSRSS folder, and once again you need to open up the readme file first. And here again you can see a little bit of information about what this tweak does and its benefits, and once you are done reading that, you can open up the commands file. So here there are two commands, and you need to copy and paste these one by one. So copy the first one and paste it once again inside of an administrator command prompt window, and then copy the second command, paste, and then enter. And now you can close this document. And that is it for this tweak. Next, we're going to prioritize win32k.sys, which is an input kernel. What this is going to do is boost the priority of your Windows kernel driver that manages the keyboard and mouse. With a higher priority, it's going to ensure that your inputs are handled smoothly even when your system is under heavy load while you play your game. So open the Win32k folder and then open the optimization text file. Here you're going to see the two commands that we need to copy and paste. So once again, we're going to have to copy and paste these commands one by one inside of an administrator command prompt window, and again you will see that the operation gets completed successfully. Next, we're going to use the Interrupt Affinity Policy tool by Microsoft to reduce the input and output latency on our computer. So what this software does is lets you assign your keyboard's USB controller to a specific USB core, and what this is going to do is reduce the input jitter by preventing your keyboard's input from bouncing across multiple CPU cores, which is going to give you more stable and consistent performance. To apply this, open the Interrupt Affinity tool folder, and first we need to download the USB device tree viewer. So double click on the shortcut and press on the first link. which is the 64-bit version. Next, open the Affinity tool download shortcut and once again press download. Just select any server to download the file. Once both our zip files are downloaded, we need to extract them. Once extracted, we're going to first open up the USB tree viewer. If you get a Windows Defender notification, just click on more info and press run anyway. This application is quite safe, so don't really worry about the warning. Here we need to find out which port our keyboard is connected into. To do that, you need to simply unplug your keyboard and the specific port is going to be highlighted in red. And if you reconnect, it's going to be highlighted in green. So this is the device that we're looking for and this is the port. And now inside of the device information, we need to note down the location info. So note this down because we're going to need this information inside of our Affinity tool. Now inside of the Affinity tool folder, open up the x64.exe file. And inside of this list, we need to look for our USB port based on the location info that we just found out. So look for devices labeled as USB composite device or USB host controller. And here, this is the exact device that my keyboard is connected to. Once you've found your specific port, select that device and then click on set mask. Here you can select either CPU 0 or CPU 1 to assign to your keyboard and then just press OK. If you get an error which says access is denied, just simply run this application as an administrator. And then it's going to let you apply the optimization without any issues. So in order to apply this change, you're going to have to restart your device. I'm not going to do that, so I'm going to press no. And once you have applied this, you can just click on done. For our next tweak, we're going to enable MSI mode for our USB controllers. So MSI mode changes how your USB controllers communicate with the CPU. So this is going to switch from the older line-based interrupt mode to the MSI mode, which is going to allow faster input handling and it's going to noticeably improve responsiveness. To do this, you need to open up the MSI tweak folder and then right-click the MSI utility and run this as an administrator. This is important or else it's not going to let you modify these settings. Inside of here, you need to find the USB controllers. First, check the MSI box for all of the USB controllers that you have. And then for the interrupt priority, just make sure to set this to high. If you're able to find out which specific USB controller your keyboard is connected into, I would recommend that you only enable the setting for that controller. If not, you can simply enable it for all the USB controllers. What this is going to do is give you lower delay for all your USB devices. Now just click on apply at the top right corner and then you can close this application. And last but not least, we're going to be forcing our timer resolution to run at a global level. So this is simply just going to force Windows to run the system clock at the lowest possible resolution, which is going to make the whole system more responsive. This means that your game is going to register the inputs faster and more consistently. Firstly, you need to open up the system timer tweaks text file. And now the commands inside of here, you need to copy and paste them one by one inside of an administrator command prompt window. If you get an error, it's fine. You can just ignore that. And now the second command. And that was completed successfully. Once this is done, you can close command prompt and the text file. Now double click on the download timer rest shortcut. On this page, you need to click on the download now button and then download here. Now extract the zip file that was just downloaded. Once extracted, you're going to see the timer resolution exe file. So first you need to right click on this and click on properties, open the compatibility tab, and under the compatibility mode, select this box and from the drop down, select Windows 8. Now check the run this program as an administrator box and then click on apply and OK. Now you can double click and open this. Yes on the pop-up. And now just click on the maximum button a few times until your current resolution comes down to 0.5. So with timer resolution, what you need to do is open up this app every single time before you start playing your game and just click on the maximum button a few times until your current resolution comes down to 0.5. Now we can simply automate this process to launch the timer resolution automatically every single time you log on to your computer. So then you'll just have to click on the maximum button. If you'd like to do that, you can follow these steps that I'm about to show you. And to do this, we're going to be using the Windows Task Scheduler. So first open up the Task Scheduler. Here, click on Create Task and make sure to click on Create Task and not Basic Task. Now set a name for your task. So I'm going to name this Timer Resolution. For triggers, click on New. And to begin the task, we're going to set this to open up at login. Now press OK, and under Actions, click on New once again. Set the action as Start a Program, and then just browse for the program/script. And from here, you're going to have to locate the timer resolution file that you just download and extracted. Select it and press Open, and then just press OK. Press OK once again. And now we have created a task which will automatically open timer resolution every time you log on to your computer. So with that, we have completed the full keyboard optimization guide. If you have any questions, you can drop them in the comments down below, and I will try to respond to you as soon as possible. If this video helped you out, make sure to drop a like and subscribe to my channel, and also share this video with a friend who plays on mouse and keyboard. If you'd like me to tweak your system for you, you can check out my optimization service in the description of this video. I've got a bunch of positive reviews from my clients, and I've helped them get the maximum performance from their PCs and laptops. My PC optimization service also includes optimizing for low input delay. So if you don't want to go through the process of applying all these optimizations yourself, you can hire me to do it for you. Once again, the link is going to be in the description. That is going to be it for today, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.